No, it's interesting. Mansari once said that Baba told her, and probably told the rest of them, that if I have one lover in a city, that city is protected.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
One, probably because at any point he can elbow them out and intervene.
Borrow that body
Not
for a
not
minute.
not that the lover can do anything, but he can be. He's an access place of point of access.
Uh, we
That's
just
just
live in
my.
a little town. We're in a little town.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's all you're responsible for.
yeah, so
Yeah.
not too much pressure.
Jeff,
Yeah.
that reminded me of a story that Keshav Nigam tells.
Uh-huh.
It's about being on a train on his way to either Pune or Mehrabad. Baba requested him to come and be with him for some probably Baba work because he was a big worker for Baba. But there was a train accident. His train was in a severe accident. It caused a tremendous amount of damage, and people. I think some people died in it.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that he overheard people walking outside. He was still in the train car that he was in, and they were saying there must be somebody here who's got an in with God because there's no way this car could have avoided the damage it seemed to avoid.
Yeah.
And he was thinking, that could be me.
Yep. No.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fascinating.
We're valuable nothings from the standpoint of the
Little
world.
pawns. We can be thrown away, but we're all pawns useful for something.
Someone just read me a poem from Khalil Gibran called "On Pain." Quite beautiful for those who have to suffer, not the people, not the blissful, not your blissful Baba lovers. So, Angela, did you find that
Yes.
poem? Yeah. Hey, listen to this. This is, I think it's beautiful.
Khalil Gibran on pain. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields. And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Much of your pain is self-chosen. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen, and the cup he brings, though it burn your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears. Jai Baba.
Oh,
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Wow. Isn't that beautiful?
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So intense.
Yeah. And it's,
Baba sent a letter to Adi Jr. After the UK group asked Baba what they should be doing at their meetings, what his recommendations were. And primarily what Baba said what for them to do was to share your thoughts with one another about Baba.
yeah. And I think the challenges that people come up against in trying to remain centered in Baba, and things that kind of pull us away. And well, the whole Effort and Grace book is all the different distractions and ways to get beyond those distractions is excellent for that. Yeah.
What was that quote, Jeff, from Erich?
Yeah, Erich, someone said to him, a guy named Dick Anthony said, is Baba going to become a religion? Most of you heard this, but, and Erich said Bob was adamant that it not become a religion this time. And then he said, how can it be kept from becoming a religion? And Erich said, if his lovers would get together in small groups and share their mystical experiences, it could be averted. And this was in maybe 1970, 71, when I think today he would use share their inner life with Baba, with each other. And the reason is that everybody's inner life is so vastly different, so unique to each one, that you can't really make a religion out of it. You know, you can't get any norms, because some people are coming into Baba through a life of indulgence, and others were very ascetic, and some people were bad boys and some very nice girls. They've all come to this, and you can't predict. I mean, when I was up in Schenectady, well, no, back when I was in Seattle, the people that I thought would be most drawn to Baba, who were kind of spiritually minded, didn't get drawn to Baba, and the people that I thought were really didn't have a clue were the ones that got into Baba. So even you can't even hardly tell who's going to. And I've said this before. Erich said there are two types of people that get into Baba, that follow Baba. Those who are very, very good. He said this in Mandalay Hall, and those who are oddballs. And you should have seen people looking around, trying to determine whether they were in the classification of oddballs or whether they were the very, very good type. Some of them are pretty obvious oddballs. Anyway.
I heard Craig Ruff tell an anecdote, because he used to hang out with Erich.
Yeah.
Hours upon hours every day. And this one day, he had something on his mind, and he decided he would ask Erich his thoughts on it. Although, just to ask Erich some kind of a question like this, he felt like he didn't know, he couldn't tell what Erich would say. I personally believe Erich didn't know what he would ever say until he said it.
Yeah.
But so he was ready to have Erich slap him upside the head, he said. But it turned out the response to the question, which was, Erich, what's the next stage? Because at that point, there was still a lot of Mandalay around, which was a stage, and of course, he was talking about maybe when the Mandalay were not around anymore, to kind of give some focus and stuff. So Erich, he said, stroked his chin, and he was giving it some thought. And his answer was, you all will share.
Beautiful.
There's it.
Yeah.
That was his answer.
And I've mentioned this before. Bill LePage asked Erich what's going to happen in the next 700 years. And Erich said that his Mandalay and close ones will be coming back, and they will be amongst you. You'll be drawn to certain ones. So already the Mandalay are amongst us. That they're not going around with, I was a Mandalay last lifetime, but they are, the era of Mandalay is not over, because they were dying to get back and help in the whole unfoldment of all of this. So there's a party after this party, and there's going to be a party after that for the next 700 years. So like I say, the Mandali are going to be here, but the way I kind of look at it is that Baba, I mean, someone like Darwin was up there in New England, and people used to go to those meetings, but it wasn't like Darwin was some teacher, you know what I mean? Those were just loving meetings. You wanted to get into the feeling of that, you know, and it'll be something like that. You'll be drawn to certain of Baba's old mandali, you know, who might have an approach that resonates with yours. That's what Eric said. Someone might be drawn to this mandali member because their approach resonates with theirs. But we're probably going to be shifting around as well. You know, so we'll find, well, you know, but they're not going to be set up as perfect masters, even though many of them will be perfect masters. They may keep that all hidden. You just kind of like that young guy. That guy really, a little kid over there, 21 years old, and he's taught, you know, he's really got some good vibes. And that could be one of Baba's old mandali. So you just don't know. But I think we're going to be well taken care of in the next 700 years. Yeah.
Besides, we don't know who the perfect masters are.
Yeah. No, we don't. And Baba said, as you know, that for the next 100 or 200 years, the present perfect masters are going to be off stage, so to speak. Baba is the main protagonist on the stage, and they are pretty low key. So we're not going to hear about any perfect masters, not even in Las Vegas.
Jeff, I'm thinking that the perfect masters, the previous perfect masters, there could be a lot of them around all through the times, because there were circles of 120 who you would probably, I mean, they were in the circle. Baba didn't necessarily call them mandali, but there were other people even beyond those 120. How many people surrendered their lives to Baba? You know, every avataric time he came. So there could be so many, and we would probably be drawn to them karmically. And I think what I really want to say is, I think it would behoove us as Baba lovers and as a community, if we looked at every Baba lover and look for the qualities that might be what we would think is a mandali, and look for those qualities, and not really the qualities of that person's an oddball or, you know, anything like that, but rather see those qualities in one another. I think that would make a beautiful atmosphere for us to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you folks find this, but I found I've been greatly benefited by by my fellow Baba lovers, because there are the divine qualities, the divinely human qualities, and someone may have one of them, and even though they don't, they're kind of behind on the other qualities. Someone may be very generous, and to see that, my own heart set, you know, resonates. That's the beauty of it. You know, or someone may be really honest in the deepest sense, and even though they may not be generous, or they may not be helpful, they may not be, they may not have a sense of humor, but they have a quality. So when you're around spiritual people, you know, I think we benefit from the divine qualities that have come from their heart of hearts into their heart, and there it is, and you get to see its beauty. Not like you have to be generous. You would like to be generous because you see the beauty, the simple beauty of it, or, you know, you see forgiveness. I mean, some Baba people I've seen have been so forgiving, of things that have happened to them that, I mean, it's stunning. And it shows me where I have to work to become forgiving in that just natural way. Sometimes they don't even know that they are forgiving. You know, it's so natural they don't even notice, like breathing. So
Ralph Waldo Emerson, I remember seeing this quote one time. I was in some museum or something and they had it posted. He said, I've never met a person that wasn't my superior in some manner, some way.
yeah,
So that's what you're saying, I think, you know.
yeah. And we can, you know, rather than feel envious of this quality in someone else, you actually truly appreciate it. And so Baba said one of the high roads to surrendering to him is to be with the lovers of God and render them wholehearted service. So the sense of community is very helpful because you run into people with these qualities developed. And then you get some people that have a lot of them developed, like Eric, you know, he's got a lot of them developed in one person, you know, or, you know, all the mandala, I would say, but.
Jeff, I swear I read somewhere that Gibran was like on the sixth plane or something like that. Have you ever read that?
No, I haven't read it. Not that it's not.
Yeah, I read it recently. And
there
I'm
was
trying to
one
think of-
Baba lover that Baba kind of suggested had been Khalil Gibran, but I better not say who it is.
Oh,
No,
darn.
don't say.
I won't say. I'll tell you, it's not me.
Okay, are you sure?
It's me.
But I'm sure you know the person. You know, it's interesting about intuition. This just kind of comes to mind is the Mandalay. I just being around them, they picked up intuition not as Baba's words, but it would be like a flash. And then they could give it words. They could put it into English. I could put it into Marathi or whatever, but it would be just a distillation rather than words. But I mean, that doesn't mean that when the words come, it's not an intuition, but it's just interesting that they got it in a flash.
Can you give an example of that?
Baba may give you instructions on something, but it's not verbal. But then if you need to put it into words, you can. You know, you get an intuition to call your aunt at you know, no, maybe that's not a good example. Yeah, here's one that I had. I got a flash. I had a very close relationship with this woman back in, I guess, 1970 or something like that. And Baba flashed this to me. And it just came as a flash, but then putting into words, this is the words. Your love, the love you have between you is very great. And it has come from the past. But if you want to love her most, turn completely to me because she is in me. If you want to do the most with the love you have for her, turn completely to me because she is in me. Now that was just like that, but I got the whole message and I just translated it into English. You know, it's distilled. But like I say, that's not the only way that intuitions come, but or you get someone like Erich. I think in the Mandalay, they were like the embodiment of intuition itself. So they don't have to go and and receive intuitions, their life is operating intuitively. That's a beautiful stage where the intuition it just comes down and motivates everything you do. You may not even know what you're doing means the world to somebody. You may not know, but some little casual remark may change their life, and you have no idea that it had that impact. Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
just a quick comment.
Yeah.
I don't know if, well, I'm thinking people like Mondelez or people who met him and were very close to him. One is Adele Walkin that I had a very close relationship with, and she had a very, very great intuition. It was the most amazing. And I just think that people like that, either being veiled or not, they are in higher plane of consciousness, minimum fifth, or someone like Erich, I think six or so, but they're all veiled. And Baba explains that when you're in that plane of consciousness, you're already connected in thoughts and feeling with others. And you can, easily see what's going on with that person or what's in their thought and what's coming to them and so forth. And if it is important, they usually let you know, but many times they don't, because you don't have to know.
Yeah.
But if it's important, they usually say, well, by the way, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt Erich knew me better than I knew myself.
Yeah.
I mean, he could come inside of me because he wasn't stuck in himself. His consciousness can come into me, look around. My vision was impaired, but he could just look around, and he didn't intrude though. And he might just say something, maybe Jeff, maybe you should do this. With just no pressure or anything, and it could be life-changing,
Jeff, is there time for a quick story, or do you?
Yeah, go for it.
This was quite a few years ago, but this was a lesson in trusting when Baba speaks to you. I was in a hurry. I wanted to get out of the house. A friend had given me this big orange, "Don't worry, be happy" button, because we'd been talking about Baba. She saw it somewhere, I don't remember where, and she gave it to me. Anyway, I didn't know what to do with it. I was, time-wise, things were crazy. So I left it on the my kitchen table. There was a lady that at that time, my kids were still young, who used to come in and help me do the housework. And anyway, I don't know, it was at least 2 weeks after she came back to the house. I was at the house at the time. And she said, "Can we sit down for a moment?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I have to tell you, when I came to do your house, I was going to clean your house and go home and take my life.
Oh my
When
God.
I saw that button, something happened and I didn't." And for me, that was a moment that, boy, when you get that feeling, you don't know what to do, just leave something there. That had such a huge impact on me. I will never forget it. I still have that button. It's
Beautiful. Wow. Lovely story.
Powerful.
Yeah.
it was like, whoa. Anyway,
Whew.
say about it.
Well, let's have a few moments of silence before we begin. Jai Baba. just to say a few words. I know in Darwin's last couple of years, a number of us used to go up to his place, and we'd be around the house helping out, play checkers with him. He was quite good. He was at 96 and 97. These are coming down the end of his life, and there'd be things to do in the house, and we'd have things to eat and all that. But every once in a while, Darwin would go into a very deep state. I described it as a deep absorption in Baba. And when he would go into that state, we would all kind of quiet down a little bit while he was in that state. And he would be there for a while, and then he would come out of it, and the activity would start up again. So this was a common thing. And the whole house would go still, the whole place. So anyway, on one of these occasions, I was sitting with him in the kitchen. And some of you have heard this, but I was sitting in the kitchen, and he went into one of those states of absorption. And I looked down at him and I said, "Darwin, what are you doing in there?" And he kind of looked up and said, "I'm trying to dissolve all standpoints. I'm trying to dissolve all standpoints." And see, the thing is, I think of it as like when you're in early childhood, you do have a standpoint, but the standpoint is pretty light, and you're enjoying the oneness of existence and the spontaneity and the wonder and everything. But then that standpoint, as we get older, we start picking up right and wrong, good and bad. This wasn't good, that wasn't, this person, that person. And that standpoint gets heavier and heavier with impressions. And to where eventually we are so kind of entrenched in our standpoint that this oneness of existence that's right out there, we can't get to anymore. I mean, it's like taking a shower with a rain jacket on. I mean, you can feel the warm water, but you don't get wet at all. That's what happens, that life as opposed to existence. So here's Darwin at the very end of his life with a very flimsy standpoint, but he's still trying to shed it so that he can dissolve in the oneness with Baba. Imagine working right up to the 11th hour, so to speak, to be dissolved in Baba's loving oneness. So that was very touching. He used to say, don't think of yourself so much as a base of operations. Think of yourself as a conduit, as a vehicle. So that Baba's love can flow through you. So that's the beautiful thing that I happen to think of. So what page are we on, Angela?
Page 105 in the book. That's 62 of the PDF, beginning of chapter 19.
The fruits of our labor. In non-duality, there is freedom from limitation, as well as the knowledge and appreciation of things as they are. Meher Baba. When we can stand back and see life as a pack of gross level earth games, we will decide to rise above it into a state of perception rather than continue to play those games. We realize that we can remain free instead of dwelling on gross level games. Withdraw your need from input from Maya and put all your focus on Meher Baba. He is more eager for this than we are. Surrender the limited in favor of the unlimited, as Baba says. Give the false to him and upgrade to the truth. Intensify your faith and conviction. Sow the seeds of liberation.
Doug, why don't you read, just read the next section?
Yeah, the prerequisite for lasting happiness. Hope and disappointment are two sides of the same coin. Baba stresses the importance of detachment based on understanding, rather than detachment that is merely a reaction to experiences of the opposites. He says the steadiness and equanimity that remain unaffected by any opposites is possible only through complete detachment, which is an essential condition of lasting and true happiness. The individual who has complete detachment is not at the mercy of the opposites of experience. And being free from the thraldom of all desires, he no longer creates his own suffering. This means that a lasting internal detachment is a prerequisite for lasting happiness. Your consciousness can become free to turn away from the gross level and turn towards the spiritual, toward the reality within. Become a detached witness. Do not make the ego self out to be an obstacle. Lots of instruction here.
Yeah. Do not make the ego self out to be an obstacle. Don't make the ego self an obstacle. Don't make yourself an obstacle. Yeah, well, I guess that's self-explanatory in a way. It just hit me sort of, wow, how do you do that? Thank you. That's my comment.
Yeah, no, that's, anyone to have something to say in relation to that?
I was reading something this morning that said that when Baba referred to love of him versus love of our family or our children or each other, that our love towards each other was attachment and love for him was really different. There was no attachment involved in the same way. And I just, that kind of, I don't know, it just kind of came up for me when you were reading that.
Yeah, well, there's someone, maybe Mayor Prasad knows the that quote where Baba says, "To love me is to love all. To love me in all is also to love me.
Mm-hmm.
To love all is not to love me."
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. Who can rescue that quote? To love me is to love all. To love me in all is to love all.
Mm-hmm.
To love all is not to love me.
Mm-hmm.
So you can, I mean, as long as you love, you're aiming for loving people in the people that are near and dear to you, you are not attached.
Mm-hmm.
You're going for their soul and not just their personality. Yeah.
I wanted to add that I continue to be impressed with how he uses words that I literally have to go look up. So thraldom was a word I had never known. Yeah. That's exactly what Google kind of said, bondage,
Yeah.
slavery.
Yeah. They put you in thralls, that prisoners. Yeah.
It's a great word.
Okay. Any?
Elizabeth?
So I listened to the presentation on Narina today that Charles Charles and Ruthie Apple put together. It was amazing. And Narina, I think, is someone who was detached from opposites because she, in terms of the world, you know, she was a princess, she was a businesswoman, she was an actress, she had fame, she had money, she had power. And then she allowed herself willingly, because of her love of Baba and God, to give all that up. And she gave all her money. I mean, I just found out today that she gave the money that started the Nasik center in India. And then really in the final analysis, because of giving those readings, those thought orders that she had, they essentially destroyed her. Just like Baba allowed his body to be destroyed, she also allowed herself, even her mind. I just can't get over it. It just finally hit me what she did. She allowed her whole self to essentially be destroyed. I mean, I'm sure she knew what she was doing. I mean, she knew that this, Baba finally made her stop, but the whole, her mind was hurt by doing these things, the stress of it, the whatever it was. I mean, I didn't know Narina. I'm just fascinated by her. But anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And Narina's back, but we won't tell you who it is. And the person is quite intact. After
Oh,
that life.
doggone.
That's funny.
That's a tease.
Well, he's embarrassed. I mean, Baba said that this fellow had been Narina, but I don't want him to be bothered.
Oh, I
but
remember
he
now.
did come back perfectly fine. Anyway, that might be beside the point. Anything, here's this. Darwin used to use this expression, a state of perception. Anybody kind of weigh in on that? I mean, he used to use that expression to rise to a state of perception. And he would talk about going to that place within himself. Anyone want to venture? I mean, it's a standpoint that is behind this.
It reminds me of a saying, life is not happening to me, but happening in me. That's the perception. It's all perception. It's not the things that actually happen are not as much of a consequence, because that's the illusion part. I mean, the perceptions are illusion too, but they're much closer to having significance and meaning.
Yeah, beautiful way to, yeah. See what Douglas has to.
Yeah,
Well,
Douglas.
it strikes me also that he's talking in this paragraph about gross level earth gains, which is a wonderful description of life. And that he's deciding to rise above those gains into a state of perception, which seems to indicate a state of awareness, of clear seeing of Baba within and without. And what that state actually is, only Darwin could describe for himself, and we struggle to understand.
Yeah, Don Stevens used to use the phrase a neutral plateau, to rise to a neutral plateau where you're not dragged into this and that. A kind of pure observer, pure awareness, looking on at life.
I was going to make a comment about what Terry brought up, but that's we need to do a little bit of flashback. Baba said, love your family, love your closed one, but love me above all. Love me above all, because everyone and everything is in me. So when first I heard that, I began to think about it, and then it just made sense to me. Once you love Baba, well, wholeheartedly, of course, naturally you love your son, your daughter, your mate, your neighbor, and so forth, because everything is Baba. Everything and everyone is Baba. And that's a good practice for us to see Baba in everyone and everything, just to practice it, like that.
Good. Yeah, that's the way you kind of resolve that the dichotomy of the love, family and Baba.
Jeff Asbell?
I guess the most important thing is to say, I don't know. And I really don't know. And like each of us, we try to get a sense, and it's been mentioned here a couple of times, Darwin's perception. I used to think I want to be as able to perceive a situation just as it is. I think Darwin had a state of perception. In other words, we can each be enlightened for a moment sometimes. We're so clear, we're so present. We can also sometimes have that state of enlightenment or awareness in certain moments. It's the state of awareness, as somebody mentioned earlier. To sustain that state of awareness, that state of perception, goes right into the very first sentence of Darwin's paragraph here. When we can stand back, who could do that for very long? When we can stand back and see life as a pack of gross level earth games. When I read Darwin's words, it reminded me of my first spiritual teacher, Hilda, who when she was in India got a note from Meher Baba. We will never meet, but my love will be with you forever. Hilda called it earth disease in one of the gatherings. She said, most people have a case of earth dis-ease to some degree. So Darwin says, when you can stand back and when you can see life as a pack of gross earth diseased people, they have earth dis-ease, and we react when I see many things politically, environmentally, socially, and on and on and on, and I feel hurt. How could this be? It has to change. Whereas I would think that Darwin has a state or an awareness of perception that is neutralized emotionality. He has somehow either gotten so sick and tired of reacting to the egoic mind that says, I don't like it that way. We need people to lead this country that really are competent, that are committed, and that have good hearts and are intelligent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The mind says, wait, and then friend will say, this is Baba's play. This is Baba's Leela. You're not gonna, your perception is so misperceiving. You are in such duality. You want things to be the way you want them, but So somehow Darwin was able to sustain, which is very challenging, that first sentence. He was able to stand back and see life on that gross level of earth games or earth disease. He was able to decide and did decide and live to rise above that earth games, those earth diseased people, which we all have a little bit of a case of at least. And he had a state of awareness, a state of perception, as you could see or imagine Meher Baba, when asked questions about any of the wars or people who we knew who were suffering, I would sense that we would sense that Baba's emotional neutrality would be so immersed with love and all the things that we would experience in Baba's presence, this emotional neutrality is something that I've been working on for a long time. I think we all have in different ways. It's how do I not react? How do I accept what is just the way it is? It ain't going to change. It is the way it is. It is the way it is. You can imagine one of our parents saying to us, Sally or Peter will not let you play with their pail, no matter how many times you ask them. And we look at life from early on and we think we can change just because we're anxious, but it don't work that way. To integrate that, to integrate Darwin's wisdom.
Yeah, and what he did, like I introduced this, he was working on giving up all standpoints. It's the standpoints that get you caught up in reacting. That's good, that's bad, that's loving, that's not loving, that's not spiritual, that's spiritual. And yeah, you reach that emotional neutrality plus love.
I want to ask the group, does anybody have any ongoing success in any given day with that emotional neutrality? And I know that's a very unfair question to ask, but I asked that question because the question after that would be, how do you sustain that? How does that work for you? And of course, I also know when you ask a how question, you have to answer it yourself in your own lifetime over time. But I still want to ask, does anybody have any insight how to work that?
I'm wondering if the suggestion that you're making with emotional neutrality has anything to do with either avoiding or actually suffering in the suffering of others, as Baba quite a few times gave us messages that said that we should be happy in the happiness of others and suffer in the sufferings of others. And I think that means actually feeling for other people in the way they're experiencing their lives and things. Not to say that we then don't take that feeling and somehow processing it so that we can be with it and accept it.
Yeah, good point, Ronnie. I mean, that's
beautiful sensitivity.
Yeah. I guess the term emotional neutrality isn't exactly quite accurate. We don't have quite the language in the English language, but we don't have the love neutrality. Yeah. But anyway,
Gabriella?
let's keep that. We'll keep that on the platter here. Good question.
Jay Baba, so I loved a lot of what you said, Jeff. Thank you. It was really great. And thanks, Ron, for that beautiful clarification. What I was going to say before was just a few things that really jumped out at me. One was I liked his phrase, withdraw your need for input from Maya and put all your focus on Meher Baba. And you know, we use examples in here a lot of times. So I'm just thinking about the fact that, as all of you know, many of you know, my mom has been really sick and I wanted to go visit her in Israel. And I have all these problems with my passport and I cannot get it. So I have this particular need for a particular input from Maya, which is to get that passport. And I can't seem to get that passport. But what I'm noticing, and this sort of is, Jeff, you asked if anyone's had any success. I don't know if it's because I've had, as he says, there's two kinds of detachment. One is from having the experience of the opposite so many times that you just start to burn out from your attachments. And then he says you want it to be based on understanding rather than that. That's what Darwin says. Detachment based on understanding rather than a reaction to the experience of the opposite. So, well, whichever way it's coming from, and I'm not sure I don't know if I have, I don't think I have the understanding of a detachment yet. And I think that, you know, but I've noticed that each day this happens. I call and I see that nothing's happened on the passport front, and the next day I do it again, and it's looking now like I'm not going to be able to be there for my dad's birthday, and my mother is hanging in there, and Baba's doing this day, and then he's doing that day, and it's changing every day, and I'm pretty calm about it. I'm not all freaked out. I mean, that's, you know, I don't know. I'm just not all freaked out, even though I think I might have been a few years ago. And I think that there is some change. And it isn't that because I definitely love what Ron said. It's such a Jewish concept that you care about other people. You care about their happiness, and you suffer in their sorrows, you know. And I definitely, I want to have that, but it's like, it's transparent. You experience that happiness or that sorrow or that, oh, I wish that the passport would come through, but it's transparent. It only lasts for a second. It's like a cloud is over it, and then you can see through to something bigger, to something more, and he says, and love, focus on Meher Baba. So the trick or the key seems to be that in those moments, that what am I seeing through to? I'm seeing through to his face. I'm seeing through to his will. I'm seeing through to his plan, which none of us really know what it is, you know. But so I find myself saying a lot these days with regard to the politics and all this. And my brother just got elected to Knesset, so he's just now in. He's lifelong thing. So, and I'm like, okay, Baba has a plan. What is that? I wonder if he's part of Baba's plan. Instead of like, you know, but there's dancing in the streets. People are dancing in the streets. Big revolution in Israel. Big change. And, you know, we have to feel happy for the happiness of others and sad for the sorrow of others. And that's part of it all. And that doesn't mean I'm going to have this emotional detachment where I don't care. That feels like a disease to me. I mean, what feels real is to feel more love, but I love, again, jumping more what was said earlier, to love all is not to love me, but to love me, and all is to love all. So, you know, feeling that joy and sorrow for each being that I meet, and it's going to be, you look at the Israeli-Arab thing. I mean, it's one side feels happy while the other feels sad. So what are you going to do? You got to love everybody. You got to just, you know. So, and that's across the board, you know, just an example. So I'm running on, but these are just some random thoughts. Thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, thank you. That's the challenge.
Yes, indeed. And Elizabeth.
So I guess I'm still hung up on this concept of state of perception, because everything, I mean, every moment you're in a state of perception. So I'm trying to understand the context. When we stand back and see life as a pack of gross level earth games, we will decide to rise above it into a state of perception rather than to continue to play those games. So while you're in the game, you are in a certain state of perception, but so there's some bigger meaning to what is being said by state of perception here. I mean, I do understand that, like, we have all these things that are going on and egos that are acting and reacting, and we're torn this way and that by various desires and lust, greed, anger, and all the rest of them. So I'm just trying to, so this state of perception is obviously not your typical perception.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. I just know that it hit me, and it said that to me, it said that doesn't sound right. What's the context? And I mean, I do understand that I guess I would feel better if he had said something like a state of illumination or a state of higher perception or a state of beyond the game, you know. So not drawn in. I don't know.
Yeah. I
So
mean, he
I'll
might have
just
put
find
higher.
that out in case anybody wants to respond.
Okay. We got a few hands here.
Stuart?
Yeah, I mentioned this before, but Jeff Wolverton, you mentioned Don Stevens' neutral plateau, and talk's been coming up about being able to be detached. And in the neutral plateau, Don also described the possibility of stepping back and not reacting. And I think particularly if you're used to reacting, but if you can just step back, and he said, take a breath even for 1 second at a time, and then you build it up, and then next time 2 seconds, and hold yourself back. And he said, eventually you can enter this place of observing what's going on and also observing yourself, but you're not just automatically thrown into it emotionally.
Excellent. And it doesn't mean that it's a loving detachment.
Stuart, could you repeat that one more time again?
Don talked in terms with the neutral plateau of, say, especially in a situation where you would tend to get fired up, you tend to react. And if you can just kind of catch yourself, take a breath, step back. And he said, even for 1 second. And then next time you try to step back for 2 seconds and not react, 3 seconds, 4 seconds. And eventually you create an opening into this place of, I think Jeff Wolverton, say a loving detachment where you can observe what's going on, but you're not automatically just throwing yourself emotionally into it.
Yeah. Great description. Darwin used to talk about creating inner space. So you got some space between you and your reactions so that you can choose a loving response rather than a negative response, say, or just a kind of a negative emotional response. Yeah.
And Rita?
Hi, Jay Baba. The way I do it is I think of myself as a soul. And when I'm in that place, I seem to be able to pause and not react immediately to other people's situations that really are none of my business. That doesn't mean I'm not loving. That doesn't mean I don't help when I can. But for me, God is in the pause. And I think it's the same thing as Jeff was talking about, that Darwin talked about, is this inner space. To me, that inner space is that pause, and if I can just do that pause, then I don't seem to react to the world the same way. There are exceptions when something goes on with my daughter. It's like a bungee cord pulls me down. It's like, ah! But then I step back and realize that she's just manifesting her own sanskaras, and that's wonderful. Isn't that wonderful? Whatever she's going through, her soul's learning. And that's, I didn't create the problem. I can't cure the problem for others. So, those are just some of the ways that I maintain that loving detachment. And I'm a very sensitive, kind, loving person, and I'm there for a lot of people. So it doesn't feel in any way that it's cold or mean-spirited or anything like that. I just keep reaffirming over and over again that I'm a soul with Baba, and that just really puts that that light around me that just allows me to be there, but not be in, wear the world like a loose garment, be in the world, but not of it when I can. And I just had an experience just a minute ago before I got on the meeting. I was talking to someone and they were having problems, and we're going on and on about, it wasn't their problems. It was somebody that her best friend got mugged and punched and hurt. And so she'd been with her all week, but she was all in it. She couldn't detach from it at all. And she was really wearing herself out. And it's just like, I couldn't think of anything to say for a while, but I just got in that pause. And that's when Baba comes in, and those words. And I used actually some of Jeff's words, which was to, bring back the tentacles of your consciousness to yourself and to your higher power, and not have your consciousness out all over every place. Come back to yourself, come back to your soul, and rest, and gain your own strength back and detach a little bit. But anyway, that's all. Thanks.
Beautiful, Rita. Very descriptive of the process.
Yeah. And Ray.
The first lines, when we can stand, because we've been quoting this, and then it finally hit me. Darwin saying, when you can do this and see life, when you can do it, right, then you will decide to rise above it. So he's, when you can do it, then you will decide to. So then I said, well, good, but how do I do that? And then, like Rita had said, your soul, thinking of yourself and Baba being as one almost. And I hear the second paragraph, there's withdraw your need for input from Maya and put all your focus on Mira Baba. So I think we've said it before, and I'm repeating maybe what someone else said, but that's what I feel, is that when something bothers me, I have to just say, Baba, Baba, Baba. Just, this is beyond me. And I would normally try and solve something that's unsolvable, because I love to talk. I love to stick my nose in things. I think I know better. I have a website. I tell my wife, doesn't everybody check it? Doesn't the prime minister check it? Doesn't the president check what I say? Because it's right. So, but when it hits you, I just, now I'm to the point where I just have to take Baba's name, because this is like, see, there I go, Mr. Know-it-all. I can't figure it out. And so this phrase about put all your focus on Mira Baba sort of is the end part for me. When you can stand back and see it as a pack. How do you do this? Is by, when you can't, taking Baba's name and then asking him something like that. Anyway, I'll just stop right there. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. I think many of us do that with Baba's name. Thank God for Baba's name.
That's great. Paula Roper.
Yeah, this is for Gabriella. Okay. When this is something Meru said, and it was said to someone when we went to India in 2011. Erich had just gone to Baba, and this person was lamenting that she had not been able to see Baba, Erich, before he went. And Meru said, And how would that have helped him? And that
Wow.
was actually for me because I wasn't able to be with my husband when he went to Baba. I wasn't with him in that moment the way it worked out. And I know it was all worked out by Baba the way it was meant to be. And every time I asked Baba what he did with my husband, he always said he's with me. And my presence wasn't necessary. It would have not been helpful to him because actually before I had held him back a couple times. I really did. I was just yelling at Baba and I told him to stop it and he did. But anyway, that really hit me when she said that. It's like, how would that have helped him? So that's like another perception. It's like putting yourself in what Baba knows what's good for each one of us. And we don't know what it is. So if it's good for you to be with your mom, you're going to be there. And if it's not good for you and her, then you won't. But Baba can be like that. He kind of knows his stuff. Anyway, Jai Baba.
Yeah. Good, Paula.
Can I respond to that? Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. I've thought that a lot, Paula. And for me, it seems like it's faith. I feel like Baba is helping me build my faith. And that I am becoming much more rock-like. I always liked that idea of becoming rock-like in my faith. That the highest good will be done, and he knows. So it has been very, my experience has been that I went from being much more attached to becoming much less attached.
Mm-hmm.
I had another comment I wanted to make. I'm a little bit thinking about this thing of feelings. So withdraw your need for input from Maya. So I really like that, but it says basically for me that that's for me personally, like that I Gabriella need blah 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 to feel happy, But the other part is when I see someone else's pain or happiness, that's a different kind of thing. I can take that in and make it my own, and then I'm having my own need for Maya through them. Basically, I'm just and I don't think I can be much help if I am overly involved in someone else's sorrow. So I really like this idea of feeling that, but having it be very transparent, have it very a deeper love be there for others, and recognizing when it's all about me. And there's a big difference. I can have lots of emotions about myself. I'm good at that. But I also can have lots of emotions for others. And that also isn't going to be particularly helpful. That's also Maya. That's engaging myself in Maya on another level. So it's being able to have that somewhat detached. Well, I love what Rita said about remember I'm a soul, and then find the pause, and out of the pause letting Baba give me the words. Thanks.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. And Rosalie?
I find more and more reason to just repeat Baba's name all the time. And then I think of what Baba said, his name is more powerful than he is. And that even he repeats his name. And I'm just curious, what was going on when Baba had to repeat his name? It's just really funny to think. He doesn't repeat it. He didn't say he repeated it all the time. It's just, even I repeat my name. It's just very curious to me. But I love that quote, only repetition of my name will suffice to free the whole world from its entanglements. So if you're considering just your little entanglements, of course you're going to take the name if it's going to free the whole world on the other hand. Anyway, I'm very grateful that the name is so easy to say.
No, but he infused that name with such power and love and knowing, really. I mean, for our sake, he did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy and Martin?
A few weeks ago, if I hope I got this right, because it seems to be working. I think it was you, Jeff, that said that the soul is always perfect. Like it never changes. It's just the outside scares. If I got that right? Did it? Okay.
Yeah, it remains untainted,
Untainted.
untouched, sovereign. Yeah.
Okay, so this is something I've been trying for a couple of weeks. I haven't perfected it, but when I'm in a situation like we've been talking about, I first say that our souls are perfect. It just gives me that break. It detaches me from anything that might be going in my head. And then if it feels right, I'll say, do you need me to hold space for you? Do you need anything from me? And sometimes they'll say yes, and sometimes they'll say no. And it's good. Like then because nobody's broken. You don't need to fix anybody, but sometimes you just need somebody to sit with you silently to process whatever it is that's going on. But I love that. I'd never heard that the soul is always perfect. So it's like in any situation with another human being, I don't know, it just shifted something for me. I don't feel like I have to do anything other than be present, take Baba's name, and then ask, is there anything you need from me? Do you need me to sit quietly with you? Whatever. I don't even ask them what that is. I just kind of leave it on the table. So I don't know if that is of any benefit to anybody, but so far it's working pretty good. So whoever said that, I'm most grateful. Jai Baba.
Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's go on to a view from the level of spirit. I mean, Baba gives a definition of spirit, but it sounds a little esoteric. But what is the spirit? What's the difference between the spirit and the soul? The spirit, Baba said, is when the soul interfaces with creation. It's called the spirit. In other words, the soul is kind of independent of creation, but when one aspect of it, but when it's in creation, it's called the spirit. But they're almost interchangeable. But to rise to the level of the spirit is really to rise to the level of your soul. The spirit is a disguised form of the soul in creation, you might say. Anyway, I mean, that sounds esoteric, but sometimes it helps.
This is a little bit of a silly question, but it just arose with me. With you saying, Jeff, that spirit is like the middle ground between the gross world and the soul. A number of times I hear people just saying that person's a special soul. We throw the word soul out very quickly and easily. And I think with Christians, they do the same thing. And I'm thinking I don't know how much of a waste of time this is. Is it important to be like technically accurate what the soul is as opposed to spirit? Because sometimes I get too involved in, let me not call somebody a soul, let me call them a spirit, which I think it's more accurate. Yeah, I don't know if I'm just too picky and mincing words here. I just wanted to ask.
Yeah, I don't think it matters too much.
Yeah.
There's a looseness, but if it helps you to make that distinction in yourself, then, if it kind of helps to clarify your interior, then I think it's good, valuable. But as far as other people,
Now, just a quick second question. I think Erich has called us souls. So, I mean, do you know if he just threw that word? Does Erich maybe use that word interchangeably, souls and spirits? Or did he have another meaning we are really souls as opposed to spirits?
I don't, I think Erich kind of used it kind of synonymously because in normal usage, it's pretty much, they're both synonymous. He has a lot of soul in his singing. He puts a lot of spirit in his singing, or sometimes he puts a lot of heart in the singing. They're all kind of blurred there. But we know kind of what we mean. People know what we mean when we say that.
Well, Baba was very clear that we're all drop souls, right? So,
yeah, droplets.
Yeah, it just strikes me that for me, I think when I hear spirit, I think of the pure energy of the soul. You know, like say that song has a lot of spirit in it. It speaks to my soul. You know, it's kind of a combination use there.
Yeah, no, that it's well. Let's see what Darwin means by a view from the level of the spirit.
Page 106 of the book.
The view from the level of the spirit. To try to apprehend the spirit with the mind is futile, because it is much too fine. But if one has enough inner detachment from the world, one can become aware of the spirit and become aware that one is living at the level of the spirit. Meher Baba made it possible for us to be conscious of different levels of the spirit when we were with him. For example, when I was with Baba on a daily basis in 1952 in Scarsdale, New York, he put me into a state of inner detached perception. I found myself floating free, sort of detached from the physical and not encumbered by anything gross, yet aware of everything going on and able to function very adequately and helpfully. I was experiencing a sense of complete inner detachment. It was as if an instrument that was unnecessary had been taken out of a mechanism. This is one of the problems with our spiritual unfoldment. We think we need our minds. We think we need our desires. We think we need all these things. As we gradually let go of them, we find there is a clearing that takes place within our consciousness, and we can go to the level of detached perception. The heart quality keeps it from becoming mental transcendentalism. The degree of our awareness of the spirit when we were with Baba would vary from time to time. On several occasions, I have been with Baba when it seemed as though everyone around him were magically transported to a different realm. We would find ourselves swimming in a sea of love, of light, and indescribable beauty. And to some extent, we would experience what Meher Baba calls objectless awareness. Apparently, from what Baba says, we are so attached to objects that we identify ourselves with these objects. But the ultimate realization is where we get free of objects and experience objectless awareness. When apparent loss of everything, this apparent loss of everything we had previously taken to be meaningful is compensated by divine bliss.
Jai Baba, everyone. Wow, that was just beautiful. God, I'm just getting this like little visual almost from this. It's, I don't know, I mean, almost just like a jump in our evolution, like we're shedding this layer of us that we don't need anymore. And I mean, the same way like animals as they're going through evolution, like they needed that, I don't know, that tail or whatever for a certain thing. And then, you know, once they're past that phase, it falls off. And, you know, Darwin's like talking about the mind, and, you know, the mind is taken to be the mind and all the human emotions that go with it too. And that like we've only known ourselves as going through life through that, thinking with the mind and then feeling all the human emotions of the like, the dislike, this and that. And like the level of spirit, I mean, I'm just remembering what, you even talked about a lot, Jeff, how, the qualities of the intuition in the illumination that belong to this level of spirit, and that we don't need that level of that mind and emotions at all. I mean, it's like that old tale that is just needs to fall off. And then we realize that that love, that light, that intuition, that illumination, we're able to navigate through everything in our life with that. And I for me, to the, little extent I've been able to feel it, the old computer program we're trying to shed, it's just characterized by fear and anxiety. I mean, that the thoughts and the emotions, it's just, that's the quality behind it. It's just this constant like background fear and anxiety. And then it's like to realize like, oh my God, we don't need that whole layer of the thoughts and emotions and the fear and anxiety that characterizes it. Like we can be free in this love and in this intuition and move through everything in our life in that, on that computer program and not the other one. So it's beautiful how Darwin's describing it here. I mean, I feel like I can see it almost. He's just amazing, the words that he puts to it. So
yeah, no, beautiful description. Yeah. In fact, Darwin would say that eventually a lot of the life functions and everything are like breathing. They just all unfold, but they unfold with love. And, you just wind up, you get onto a flow and this moment happens and then that experience happens and you go here, you have that conversation, you go eat and you meet these people and it all begins to unfold and you don't have to have your mind in there, making a schedule and fretting over different things. It all begins to flow. And so a lot of those engines or motors can be shut down, the conscious use of them, because they'll work automatically in the flow, like like Stephen Curry.
Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, I was thinking that this is what I wanted to say before we just read that piece. There's a lot of people in the medical field and science field now that are talking in terms of what's going on within our minds and bodies relating to these things that Anthony just brought up: anxiety and depression and fear and all these different common emotions that we've experienced for ages. And they're putting it in terms of two different types of nervous systems that are part of us, that are functions, normal functions. One is called the sympathetic nervous system, sometimes called fight and flight. And when something seems like it might be trouble or dangerous, our bodies almost automatically go into either this fight or flight, or they also could go into the other one called freeze. And these are natural things. What tends to make it unnatural and really difficult is when this sympathetic nervous system is always going, and it doesn't take breaks. And so when people were talking about saying Baba's name, remembering Baba, taking a good breath, all these different things are good practices for us to bring back ourselves to the parasympathetic nervous system, where we're relaxed. We can go back to digesting our food and relaxing. And what happens then is our thinking, our cognitive thinking comes back into play, and then we can then we can really give some good thought as to, do we have a role here? And if we do, what might it be? And if not, then we can just leave it to Baba. And of course, we're going to leave it to Baba even if we do have a role. But I think it's important to understand how natural all this is, and be able to make it part of our lives, and not think that we have to somehow overcome these things, but rather understand them and be part of it as it's natural.
Yeah, good point of view. Getting on a different track, not the lower tracks, but you get into higher tracks where things happen more automatically without the fear base and the flight or, fight or flight. We can pull out of that altogether and get off of that track.
We go, my cat, if I watch my cat, something moves in the, across the way, and he gets all excited and is like, well, what's going on? What's going on? And then when he realizes, oh, nothing's going on, he's back to doing whatever he was doing. They're able to switch it on and off so easily, but people tend not to be able to do that unless they get a practice going. And we're so fortunate to have the ability to remember Baba and say Baba's name and think of Baba in all these various times.
Yeah. That's the ultimate track. Yeah.
And Peter?
All righty. God, there's such juice here. And I'm just thinking about Mr. Cortez speaking. He's a tough act to follow. He's a really tough act to follow as I'm attempting to listen. Going from the soul and spirit and all these different subjects, which I'm really intrigued by. One thing I read about here at the very end, maybe that's when I tuned in, says, but the ultimate realization is when we get free of objects and experience objectless awareness, this apparent loss of everything we had previously taken to be meaningful is compensated by divine bliss. I'm thinking about myself in the process of moving, and I'm not happy with it. And I have a place that I can go, and it's so not inspiring, but I need somewhere to go very quickly by the end of the week. And it's like an urgent situation. Thing is, a number of people have said, I have a lot of stuff. And it boggles my mind when they say I have a lot, because to me, I came from a house and I wanted to have a house. I don't really have furniture, but I have a certain amount of stuff, and it's good stuff. The thing is, when I moved in, for example, my landlady freaked out saying I had a lot of it. I'm like, a lot's relative. It's in the garage. This is what I have. And I've been going through a process of evaluating and letting go, and talk about when it comes to Jeff Oswald asking, how do you get to a place of this detachment? I mean, there's so many ways to go about it. We do the meditation at the end of the meeting. But one thing I've done is when I go through my things, I usually talk to Bob about it. And there's one thing that he said with a capital H, one thing that he said is that I'll never regret anything I let go of. And it really scares me because I had about 5 Carlos. I heard the laughter. I massage therapist. I had a massage table, a massage chair, and equipment, and I recently let go of it all. I sold some of it, threw some of it away, and it scares me thinking that now I have to buy it back again at some point, or I have to make some kind of arrangements. But when it mentions that it's replaced by bliss, I'm reaching for that place. I'm reaching to detect that place of bliss, because quite frankly, when I experience again what Anthony Cortez described as what happens when the sanskara, and this was in other Effort and Graces, described what it's like to let go of the sanskaras. I thought of another way of looking at it as well, where it reminds me of food without salt. It's so bland. It's like when we have our coffee and then choose to give up coffee, there's just a blankness there. And I have a tough time differentiating between a blissless feeling when letting go of an attachment, because I do feel a sadness. I do feel a regret initially, but as a very astute mentor of mine said, that even personalities like me being an INFJ, we can be minimalist. And the thing is, when I've gone over to Baba lovers' homes, one thing that just, I don't want to use the word impress, but when I go there, there's such a simplicity. And when I can make something simple, it's beautiful. The thing is, I have a tendency to clutter it up for other reasons, which we don't have to get into. But I'm wondering if anybody can resonate decluttering, just experience with decluttering, getting the objects out. And I think that can be a very a tangible way of letting go of old paradigms, of old belief systems, of thinking that there's never enough. And I go back to that saying I heard from India a long time ago, that those that have everything have nothing, and those that have nothing have everything. And it just blows my ever-loving mind when I look at my place. I see this stuff, which in a way it's good stuff. A lot of it's good. And I went to Erich's room, like many of us have, or maybe Balnatu's room in India. And what did I see? I saw a cot, a simple cot, a simple dresser. No, not even a dresser. I think a foot locker, and a really simple table to do writing on. And I debate whether I want to develop myself so I have really nice stuff, or it's leading myself to, I think this is leading me toward having minimal stuff and getting along with it, and developing a tolerance for it. So anyway, that's a lot. At some point, I want to go back into something to do with the soul and what Anthony Williams said, but that'll be another time. If anyone has experience, I'm just listening with bated breath as much as I can. Thanks, pass.
Okay. That's not an uncommon experience. Hey, we did read, this is interesting. This might answer your question a little bit. Repudiating our completeness. Who wants to read that? This is a very profound little section.
We have become deeply habituated to wanting things in both the outer and inner worlds because of a deep inner sense of incompleteness. Wanting is an unconscious statement that says, I want because I do not have. As it turns out, this is a refutation of the truth of our own eternal being. We are indeed already complete, but we are not aware of this all-important fact. Through his grace, Meher Baba restores our wholeness. He does this by taking away our delusive sense of our wholeness. He does this by taking away our delusive sense of incompleteness, by occasionally lifting the many-layered veil within, so that we experience our own completeness. In order to augment this lifting of the veil within, he asks us to stop wanting, knowing that when we consciously stop wanting, it becomes possible for us to discern what we already have. Sometimes, out of compassion for us in our struggles, purely out of his own sweet grace, he reveals to us that he is indeed our divine shepherd, and that we are completely in his most loving care, forever safe within the timeless security of his eternal being. One time, Baba gave me an experience of this. Do I read this, or do I?
I think you better read the story. You can't leave us hanging.
Okay.
The the complete story. It happened when I was one of the 18 fortunate men who were Mayor Baba's guests in India for 3 weeks in 1954. This was later described as the 3 incredible weeks. I had been following Baba since 1932 and had met him in 1934. In 1952, I spent quite a bit of time with him in America and had drawn very close to him inwardly. So this trip to India was fulfillment of an important, almost impossible dream, to be with the divine beloved in his heartland on an intimate basis. I had always experienced him as the Christ, and sometimes in India especially, seeing him as the Christ was so startling and astounding that I could never find the words to describe how tremendous it was. One day I was standing on Mehrabad Hill, thinking of how wonderful it was that I had happened to be one of the few men who were there as Baba's guests. I knew there must be thousands throughout the world who deserved to be there more than I did. But I decided to respond by doing what I could to work inwardly with Baba and whatever he was doing within me. I found myself plunged into a much deeper level of consciousness, a more subjective level, and found I was able to work within and consciously single out various samskaric patterns and complexes that were impeding my spiritual process, like debris littering the path within. I started to understand them more and more, and thereby was able to cast them off completely. It was like walking through a forest, pushing aside the undergrowth. I could see where I had misjudged some things and drawn the wrong conclusions about other things. All those things that create a sense of bondage in our consciousness. I was able to work with them, to see through them, discard them, and work toward Baba within, closer to divine love and toward truth. And I was able to work quite well. Through clearing out the sanskaras, my consciousness was able to enter more expansive, freer levels of seeing and being within. Curiously enough, I did not realize that Baba was precipitating this whole experience within me, which he did without any ceremony or outward sign, just through inward working. He was not physically with me. He was in Merzat. This went on for 2 or 3 days, and I made what I thought was very good progress, when suddenly I came to an unceremonious halt. I encountered a blockage within. At the physical level, I experienced it in the solar plexus area, and I could not do anything with it. I was unable to go any further, but I thought, well, I'm happy that I've gone as far as I have. That is a blessing in itself. It never occurred to me that Baba would do something about it. Then one day, I was with Baba on Mehrabad Hill, along with several other people. Baba was about 10 or 15 feet away from me, when suddenly a great wave of divine fire, power, light, grace, beauty, and love from Baba swept right through me. It swept that blockage away, and a lot more besides. It all happened in a flash from the eternal. And this was not something outside of Baba, but within the aura of his loving being. It was so powerful that I was stunned. I realized that nothing could stand in the way of Baba's irresistible force when he released it. I just stood there for a few seconds thinking, what happened? Sometimes when something astounding occurred around Baba, words from the Bible would come to my mind. And in this case, what came to my mind was a passage from the 23rd Psalm. He restoreth my soul. This is what I felt. I became aware of my soul, and I experienced a sense of fulfillment and a sense of being complete within Baba's loving being. I felt I had instantly been restored to wholeness, to completeness. I experienced complete bliss, complete freedom, unlimitedness, and timelessness. I was totally blissful and utterly free. Nothing could be added. I had no need for anything else, no desire of any sort at all. This was truly a revelation. It was not that Baba made me complete. He just lifted some veils and revealed the fact that not only am I already complete, but we all are already complete. Simply by being with him in his radiation, in his atmosphere of spiritual freedom, we are sustained by his grace and we experience our completeness. After a few moments, Baba and the group started walking down toward Lower Abad, where Baba was going to light the Duni fire. I kept saying to myself, Baba is the Duni fire, the fire of divine love. This is one of the greatest experiences I ever had with Baba, and it is still functioning within. Jai Baba. Wow.
We tried for years to pin down what that blockage was with Darwin, and we could never really get at it. But here's the one thing he did say, that this thing that he was trying to give to Baba, as it was being swept away, he realized, he saw that he was actually holding on to the very thing he wanted to get rid of. But since it was at the solar plexus, it must be one of the kind of core fear that we have. And when that's taken away, we can relax and be whole and complete.
You can feel that.
Yeah.
When you're reading it, you can feel it. Oh my. I'm going to read this again before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Just wondered, Jeff, or anyone that was spent quite a bit of time around Darwin, where he says, this is one of the greatest experiences I have ever had with Baba, and it is still functioning within me. What maybe that means? Still functioning, like, in other words, that Sanskaras is still gone, or he's still experiencing the bliss, or what aspect of his experience, or all of them?
Yeah, good question. It's Darwin was big on I mean, he really emphasized to get out of the past and the future, except for just practical reasons. If you can stay in the present, you feel a wholeness and completeness. You know, if you're energetically in the future or energetically in the past, then you're incomplete. But he used to say that the difficulty today, he found, people have a hard time being content with where they are, what they're experiencing. You know, that's in the future where things are going to happen, or it was in the past where life was really great. The present loses its it's just a blur between the past and the future rather than a lifelong place. But the difficulty of what keeps us from wholeness, I'll just tell my own. If the present is too painful or too boring or too whatever, then instead of just experiencing that pain and accepting it, or that boredom, accept it, experiencing it completely, we want to go to the future to get out of it. And so we're continually leaving this very moment, the now, in order to go to other places. And then I'm talking about energetically going to other places. You have to know that you got an appointment with Angela at acupuncture next Tuesday. But you don't have to. But if I'm worried that those needles are going to hurt, then I'm energetically in the future. But to be able to accept the present, whether it's joyous or whether it's painful, is the only way we will be able to experience our own completeness. And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, Darwin talks about it being a blissful experience. It could be a painful experience. If you accept it, you can be whole in the present. I don't know if this that makes sense, but this is what I mean, in order for me to stay in the present, I've had to build up my tremendous tolerance for pain, physical and mental and emotional pain, and not want to escape it. And that keeps me in the present. I feel whole, even though I might feel miserable, but I would rather feel miserable in the present than kind of pleasant in the future or the past. I mean, I don't know if that makes any sense, but okay.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's great. Laurice?
Hi, Te Baba. What occurs to me is that you said that Darwin was trying to figure out what that was for a long time, that block. And it occurred to me that perhaps it was a past life thing because we're veiled from those past lives, but we could carry stuff forward, right? Sanskaras, right? And so that first occurred to me. And then when Janet was asking what, why was he remembering that? What I thought about was that every time I've been in India and something profound happened, it's in depth for me. And I don't know, I mean, I know people who've gone like 40 times, I've gone 6 times, which is amazing. I'm so grateful that I've gone 6 times. So maybe I have the memory, but I mean, I suppose I would think for anybody that when Baba has a profound healing for us, that it's kind of, I mean, it's a life-changing moment. And I also know that anybody that I've been in India with, like whenever we see each other, there's kind of that really deep understanding, like even if we just are chatting like nonchalantly, like, hi, how are you? It's like we have shared something so profound. We don't even have to mention it. I just feel it. So there's, I don't know, I mean, it's deep. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to just say one thing to Janet. I think what Baba removed in him was his fear, because he was kind of fearless. Darwin was. And so that remained with him, that removing the fear in him, that remained his possession, a certain fear without having to be fearful about anything. Baba was looking after everything and he just went with the flow. So now that's a lovely thing. If we can give, focus on the solar plexus and hope Baba, dissolves it. Anyway.
Peter?
I'm just struggling with this because it's already 7 o'clock and this may take a while, but I'll try and be as brief as I can. And Jeff, forgive me for trying to put you on the spot, but there's something, I hope you can forgive me for this. When talking about like staying in the present moment, Bob has mentioned staying in the present moment. A friend of mine talks about the glory of the present moment. Then again, to me, he's made it through a very successful career in retail and he has a lot of accolades. So to me, when he would reflect back, the present moment's fantastic. When I look at it, a healer said that when we go through chronic illness, sometimes the present is just miserable. And to me, I reflect upon it as being not very happy. And what I get into practice to do whenever I can, it's like I program myself to do it, is to spend 90 seconds focusing on gratitude, like what I could be grateful for. And it's such small stuff. And then when I think about joy, I think about really the future, what I'm going for, what I'm aspiring to. And if I can think about what I could be grateful for what's in the past. And what I have a tough time with understanding is if I'm in the present moment, I'm confronted by so many nasty belief systems that I have that it's really painful. It's really very painful. And it's just like walking through emotional muck. And what I've been doing is what I'm going to call a first cause meditation. I've been doing it twice a day for 20 minutes, kind of like TM, but not. And quite frankly, I'm trying to think of how to make this kind of brief, but I struggle with what some people talk about being in a present moment, about how some people feel like the glory and the peace and the wonder of the present moment. Some people look at it like it's nowhere they want to be and struggle healing it, when most of the joy is derived from looking at what the hope of the future, or maybe what may have happened with the past. So, I mean, I work on the pain, but that, I don't know, it has me perplexed whether my strategy is working, whether it's a sound strategy or not. It's like I said, being in a present moment, I practice it every so often because really it's very unpleasant. And I think if I keep on focusing on the unpleasant, what am I going to keep on getting? Unpleasant. So
yeah. I mean, if you can accept the unpleasantness, you will get really accept it. You'll get a little measure of completeness that will compensate for the unpleasant, the terrible unpleasantness. But I'm talking about, this is not easy to do. But like for most people, they have someone describes this, what's going around in most people's heads is, I'd rather be somewhere else with someone else doing something else. It's very hard to accept the present because, and it's not, if it's even painful and it's painful for long periods, if you can accept it, you get completeness as the reward. And it sometimes might be joyous and blissful, and other times it may be painful because your heavier sun scars are coming down in you and it's painful. But anyway, this is what maybe some other time we'll go into this subject.
Right.
But completeness, wholeness is kind of where we're going. Yeah.
Because we talked a lot about now, and then I have something to say. I found out through this complete story that Darwin actually narrated here about, the reason that it is hard sometimes or all the time that we stay with the present, that it is because, like he said before, it has something to do with our ego mind, okay? The ego mind is identify itself with an object and depends on what we've done with that object. The ego mind is try to run it around. There is somebody, I'm sure you know him, Eckhart Tolle, who wrote a book called The Power of Now. This book has been translated into 36 languages, including Farsi, Irani, that I checked it out from our books, library here from my sister. when she was visiting. But anyway, he talks about this, that how in every second, ego is trying to get in and run our life. Okay, so that's why when Darwin talks about staying with Baba, or we talked about repeating Baba's name and so forth, is because in that moment, it's a heavenly state of being with Baba. So ego has no way of perpetuating itself and come on in. So he can't take us to the past or present. When we're with Baba, we're in present, because he's omniscient, he's omnipresent, he's right there with us. So that's one solution. And one thing very beautiful I found out, I had a chance to read it again on my own while there was a discussion, is that Darwin talks about how he was able to do his inner work and identify each one of those samskaras that is like a stumbling block on his way. He was identifying them and casting them out. And somehow he was able to clearing them out. How he did it, it's his inner work, I have no idea. And till he got to this halt position, which he couldn't go any longer. He couldn't go forward any longer. And this is the beauty that he expressed here. He said, and I never thought Baba is able to do anything on that for me. You see, he had absolutely no expectation that now that I'm here in the light of Baba's aura, he's going to do it all and so forth. He was doing his best to work through that. And I feel inwardly that Baba knowing it all and knowing every thought of us was very well aware of this development in Darwin. And Darwin was in totally a state of surrender. He totally surrendered to the master, to the Baba. And that's what Baba took him to the next step. It's very, very beautiful how Baba is working with all of us, and especially here with Darwin. I was very fascinated just to get that. And one more thing I like to share. You know, one time that I got together with Darwin, it was actually first time that I met him. He told me this story, and he shared with me how he felt so complete when he was around Baba. He said, I was feeling like a whole. I was feeling like a whole. I could see my soul, you know, very beautifully. So anyway,
yeah,
we have Darwin and we have Baba and we have Jeff.
Yeah, well, we have all of us
We have
helping each
all of
other.
us.
But so we should, let's take a few moments of silence. What do you think, Angela? Jai Baba. Let me mention that on Tuesday, I'm going to interview, am I audible?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to interview Merwan Mistry, who grew up with Baba. His family goes all the way back to Shanji, Baba's first secretary. So you'll find very interesting to hear his account of being with Baba, especially he was in his from childhood up through his teenage years. And then if you want to kind of hear about trying to control anger, I'm thinking of having that the subject tonight at late night chat. Controlling anger, which is a major challenge before us. Now Angela and I were talking about, we're coming kind of somewhat, we're about 10 pages or more left in this book. And my thought was, to, discontinue this, maybe pick it up, months from now or something, let all of this kind of settle in. I mean, I am so impressed, how everybody brings Baba into their inner life and deals with all of the responses and how to carry on. I mean, it's very touching. I mean, Darwin probably had no idea what his book, how stimulating it would be in getting us to go deeper and deeper into the heart. But anyway, so we were thinking of, I don't know, I wanted to put it out to you. We could do another book like the Everything and the Nothing, or there could be discussion of different aspects of Baba. I mean, does anybody have any idea? I mean, I'm going to be working pretty soon at the center during the day, so that's going to make it a little more difficult for me. But anyone have any idea? There's Rosalie's way, raising her hand there. As she, from the sofa.
She's doing a swan.
Yeah, there she is. She's raising her hand. But anybody have any idea of what would be of interest in engaging to you and to all of us?
Yeah, Diane, go ahead.
Well, not just because I'm Jewish, but we have to answer a question by asking a question. But when are you available? Because we it's almost immaterial what material we choose, but having you as our fearless leader and captain of the ship feels like the most important to me.
These people have been here. These people have seen me for a lot longer than you. Then they're probably getting tired of me.
Well, then they don't need to show up.
Huh?
Then they don't need to show up.
Yeah.
Jeff, I think you should keep it at the same time, even though the material.
Diane, I don't think that's the issue. I think that Jeff actually would like some rest.
Oh.
Well, I don't mind. Yeah, I would like to take a little time off, but I'm trying to think of if we continue with something that you folks might all be able to get into, or and maybe keep in mind that a little later on, maybe months from now, come back into this book or some other writing of Baba's that
or
would.
If people want to continue to read this book amongst yourselves or without Jeff's presence, I think it would probably be a smaller group, but it would be very intimate, and of course we don't need to record, so it could be just as interesting or even more intimate in a way. So it's up to the group what you all want to do, but obviously this time on the schedule has been marked off on all of your calendars, and why not continue to meet,
Yeah. There's a book that was discontinued recently, Listen Humanity, Mayor Baba. That might be an option.
Discontinued?
The meeting on Saturday.
Oh, the meeting was stopped. I see. I was like, the book is discontinued.
Yeah, we
That
discontinued
is a very popular book.
So
I suggested in the chat Darwin's other book.
Yeah, As God Alone.
Yeah,
right.
Love.
That would be good.
That's
that
also beautiful.
It's a beautiful book. It's longer, but it is beautiful. And that was my first thought, actually.
And my thought, I mean, do you want to read Baba's life, or do you want to have things that are evoke discussion about your own inner life with Baba? Those are at least two of the options.
I think this evoking discussion is excellent, especially when it's led by someone who's been very well grounded in, Baba and the Mandali and all of that.
He wants to take a break, Elizabeth.
Right, but that's not Jeff for now. I didn't realize that was the
Well,
call to
well,
order.
we got, yeah, but there are plenty of people here that spent
Right.
time with the Mandali and I'm not worried about that. Let's see what Wendy and Martin have to say.
Sometimes when well, not sometimes, every time when we were in India at the same time, we would get up in the morning and draw the cards and we would talk about whatever you drew.
Yeah.
Is that like, I'm good no matter what, but maybe that's a thought, if we don't want to do a book because it's summertime, people could bring, because we do that now, you will ask people for something, read something, and then people could, I don't know. That's
Yeah,
the thought.
I mean, like for Silence Day, you will all be getting quotes and we do read those. It's a really very, very powerful to hear so many of Baba's messages at once. Yeah.
Okay. Just a thought.
Anthony, you got any ideas?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I think a lot of these possibilities are great. I love, Jeff, what you brought up, how people have different ways of approaching Baba, and this kind of inner life thing is just one of the ways. So I felt that's what was really special about all of us, that we all love that approach. We love to talk about our inner process and what's going on and how to work through it. And it's great because that seems like that's kind of Darwin's process and your process. And, I know I've enjoyed that a lot. So, but I see the possibilities of the other too. If we read Darwin's autobiography, I think it would be beautiful. And but also I wonder if it would get us talking about our inner process, since it's kind of like a different vibe to the book. So I don't know. I see a lot of different possibilities,
And remember that what Eric said, that how to keep Baba from becoming a religion. If we would get together in small groups and share our mystical experiences, share our inner experiences, so it's a valuable thing. I learn a lot, and all different approaches, everybody's got different camera angles on Baba. And I think it's good to have a wide range of camera angles and not just, the one that I've come up with on my own, because that can be very limited. Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So just a quick question. So it would be the same time as we're doing right now. So this is okay. So
It would be at the same time, but a little bit squished. So, the 5:30 start as opposed to the 5.
Right.
And then go to about 6:30 or 7 if you all really are enjoying. And there would be no limit to time. So if there were 2 or 3 of you left that still wanted to talk, you could keep going.
I see. Okay.
Would Stu continue to do his meditation?
That's up to Stuart. What do you think?
Is he still here?
There he is.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that. Yeah.
See, I also work on the weekends too. So, I mean, during the day. So, I'd have to take a long lunch break.
Delayed lunch.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Ronnie.
my thinking is that. Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Well, I used to go to the little center that we had in El Cerrito, California, and another Baba lover and I used to meet up there, and we would keep it open for about 3 hours, and about the only ones that would ever come in were dogs and children. They would wander in. So we were pretty much on our own. I mean, there were an occasional thing where Baba brought somebody else, but the point is that we spent 3 hours just about week after week. This was on a Saturday afternoon, actually, yeah, Saturday afternoon. So, and there was no end in sight as to what we could talk about. It was all about Baba and how it affected our lives. And it was so focused on Baba. So the point that I want to make is, if anybody is thinking that we require some specific thing to get us inspired to talk and relate to something, I think we don't really have to have that. I think people can bring things in and remember an anecdote that happened, and that will bring on some other person's thought and another memory and all this. So I think we can do this.
Yeah. We have this breakout group every other week around 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we keep ourselves, you get really into the stuff.
Let alone late night chat. How many hours every night is that?
Yeah. And
breakout groups are really
and look
good.
at Jolie down there too. She's got some lipstick. Oh, she's gone. Yeah. Yeah, Stu.
I lost my tooth.
And
My tooth fell out.
We see that.
I know.
Congratulations.
But I mean, what if it doesn't come back?
Oh, my daddy found it.
Yeah.
We were playing in the bed. My daddy hit me with a pillow because we were having a pillow fight, and then it came out.
Oh
my goodness, your father did that to you?
Just.
We were having a pillow fight.
My goodness, your father is quite violent.
Yeah, he's knocking your teeth out.
Wiggly. It was really wiggly. I could turn it around.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's a good time to have a pillow fight.
What kind of father knocks the teeth out of his children? I mean, really.
Seriously. I think he's going to have to be reported.
Hey, let's see what Robin has to say.
Well, it's not real positive like that just was, but I mean, I'm really struggling right now. And I just want to say that listening to everybody has been extremely helpful. I mean, it always is, but especially right now. And I would just hate to see it end. That's all. And
it won't end. It won't end.
I think what Ron said is true. I mean, and the idea that we tell our own, mystical stories or whatever, I think is fantastic. So whatever it is, I think it'll be great.
Should I be raising my hand?
Yeah, we got Stu's coming up next. We'll get you after Mahu.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned the group every 2 weeks, and just to say a little bit more about that, it's a small, limited group of friends. We've been meeting for years, and we alternate. One meeting, just a sharing meeting, and then the next one, someone takes on picking out a theme for the next meeting. So we have 2 gatherings a month. One is sharing, one has a theme. And like Jeff said, we always have great discussion.
Yeah. Oh, there's her tooth. I think we should have a whole meeting devoted to that tooth. No.
We have a lot to say.
Okay, Mahu.
So I'm actually thinking if the majority of people who've been a consistent participant in this Effort and Grace meeting faithfully and so forth, obviously they are interested to the way Darwin is approaching the spirituality. And in fact, Darwin and his daughter Leatrice herself. I was also in touch with her. We were close. And beside the cremation people and so forth, there are very few people like Darwin, Leatrice, or cremation that they believe in doing inner work with Baba, maintaining their inner life with Baba, and so forth. This is their role. This is their sanskaras, past karmas, and so forth. That's a role they play. That's their contribution to humanity, to us, to Baba. I mean, service to Baba, and so forth. So if people are more interested in knowing about inner life with Baba, I suggest either rereading the Effort and Grace, just complete reading. Perhaps that's what we do in other discussion, like discourses meeting or God Speaks and so forth. It's 1 hour time period, and we read through it for 45 minutes because it's Baba's words. We don't want to interfere with that. And then toward the end, if people have any discussion and so forth, they have it. And by that, a lot gets accomplished. A lot is read. And the mind and heart is focused, just we're going through it like that. So I suggest, just to summarize, I suggest keeping this time, and then we read either Effort and Grace from Darwin, or his book is As Good as Only God Can Love, till Jeff gets his break and come back. Yeah, maybe after summer or fall, and who knows, life is with Baba is so unpredictable.
After my brain transplant.
You don't want it print, just your heart.
Doug, what do you think?
We'll miss you, Jeff, anyway.
Any thoughts from you?
From California. I'm kind of with Mahu. I'm actually would be delighted to just continue. I find this particular book unique, and there's so much here. At the same time, I'm open to journeying together into other readings. It's a little, it's thrown me a bit. I hadn't realized we were that close to the end, and we'd have this discussion. But I think coming together once a week has been just so remarkable, a part of the pandemic that, one of those things that just never could have happened without it. And so I'm just really wanting to continue is the bottom line. And Jeff, I value your stewardship and your captainhood. So I really do appreciate your role there, and Angela as well. Both of you have done such a wonderful job of continuing this work together. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I'm not landing anywhere particularly,
Yeah.
but
but like Angela says, we have time to decide, but somehow it's just seemed like it might be, to put this out here, someone may get something from Baba that seems like a good way to, a direction to go.
Yeah, good.
Like we say, we got Baba here. What would Baba want? What would Baba want in a very practical way? And he has a lot more options than we do, and be just curious. But just everybody kind of bring this deep within them and see what they hear, because Bob will be able to whisper in someone's ear.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Let's see. So who is next? Elizabeth.
Oh, well, I mean, I kind of agree with Doug. This book is so unique that could just read it over and over and over again, just like the discourses. You know, you just never, and it's different because there's this pragmatic side to it. So it's like a unique combination of a spiritual internal focus and application in the world, which then allows people to bring up how they're dealing with whatever they're dealing with, and give others insights and examples as to way to also apply that or not apply that or whatever.
Yeah.
I would be a little concerned about the 1 hour unless you're doing straight reading. And I personally do not like straight reading because I think, especially in a book like this or discourses, there's so many things that I think are more well thought out when you have an exchange of views and get different perspectives. And I would not want to feel that constraint, especially in a meeting like this one where there have not been those constraints except for the hand raising and being respectful of others. So
yeah,
I don't know. I could read Effort and Grace probably forever, just like the discourses. But I do think we need a focus.
Yeah.
And the time, I think the time being the same and the focus on a particular thing, people expect it, they prepare for it, they put the time aside for it. And the consistency is very helpful, especially if people are going through crises.
Yeah. Yeah, Wendy, what's your?
I was just thinking the title, Effort and Grace. We've been, I think some of you have gone through it a couple of times in your group. This is my first time through with all of you. And it kind of feels like this is now for us time, maybe this week while we're, winding down, the effort and grace, what this has been all about. All the teachings that we've gotten from this beautiful book, and just be with it. Like you said, just be with it. I think it was Rita, I'm not sure, who wanted to make sure the group kept going. I'm very much like that. We're isolated. I would miss not seeing everyone and hearing the stories. I would be sad about that. And that's an attachment. I get that. But I think maybe that's, if we could just take the effort and grace, the meaning of his whole book with us this week, and just, like you said, see what pops up.
Yeah.
Give it a chance.
No worries. This group will continue. Don't worry.
Let's see what Janet has
The time
to say.
slot will continue. We'll definitely have meetings still. I guarantee you. It's just a question of details.
Yes.
Yeah.
Day Baba. Love everybody.
Let's see what Janet has
Well,
to.
I think I am just dittoing what a lot of people have said, Douglas and Wendy and others. I don't know. I really like Effort and Grace, and I've been reading it continuously for several years now, mostly on my own before this group. But I do feel that there's been a level of connection and trust that they've developed among this group of people that is wonderful for me. And I really appreciate the opportunity to continue with that with all of you and the others. And in this time spot, as you said, Angela, that is not any of it saying that without Jeff's presence, it won't change for me. And I'm not saying that to make Jeff feel in any way responsible, but I mean, not that we all don't have Baba's deep love with us, but I really have appreciated both he and Angela so much, and that will I mean, I'm just being honest with the feeling that's here present, and that will be a loss for me. But I trust that something else will arise and that Baba will bring us into a different format that will also be very satisfying. I trust that. But I mean, and so again, I am not so much caring about what we decide to read as that we do decide. And with Elizabeth, I'm of the feeling that reading for a while, maybe a little longer periods or whatever, and then having time to reflect on that and how it touches our personal life. So
yeah, beautiful. Yeah. I think that's a valuable point that you make. Here we all kind of know each other, and we've shared a lot of our experiences, and it's kind of rare that you've been hanging out for over a year, and some of us have been known each other from way back, and there's a certain safety and certain I'm amazed that we've never had any like arguments or a harshness. Everybody has great empathy and
The night is young.
compassion. What's that?
The night is young.
Yeah. But it's wonderful that that people have listened to other people's approach and have never been judgmental or put them down for it. There's a real care. I mean, that's a rare thing that's happened. We didn't even have any rules, any norms. We just jumped into it, and everybody has had that care and kindness and empathy, sympathy for what people are going through, and yeah, it's rare. So what you're saying, Janet, this keeping this going in some form or other, that we be together can be capitalize on that closeness and that safety. That is just a safe environment to bring your problems, and that's not always there in the world. Somehow it's been created here. So Paula, let's see what Paula has to say.
Yeah, Jeff, I was just going to echo that because like I can't always come because it's Sunday afternoon and sometimes I'm with my family, but everything's recorded, and late night chats and all the things that are offered have gotten me through this last year because it was a tough one. And it is safe. It is a safe place to be. It's remarkable what Bob has given us. He's given us an emotionally safe place to be, where you can just hang out and be yourself and say what you think, and if I feel stupid, it's okay.
Yeah.
And then the richness of the stories and the quotes and everything that you always bring, that's just really, it's just a wealth. It's a treasure, and we all treasure it. I think that's part of what we're all saying, but it's just been invaluable for me this year. And what a gift Bob has given us. And if I come to Myrtle Beach, which I want to sometime, I'll actually know people.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of these people that from other places may be here on the same weekend. Patty, let's see, Patty Curtis, I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, we lost you. She fell off her chair.
Yeah, actually, I haven't felt well today, so I've been kind of low key, but it's been such a joy and such a pleasure to accompany with all of you on this journey. It touches me deeply. And I, like Paula, don't always get in here on this particular day, but I don't miss them ever. And I never miss late night chats, even though I don't show up in person. So what that says to me is the importance of our connection with each other in the divine oneness that Baba is, and how much it is given so freely to us through this medium. It's just the best. And I don't care if we read anything, it's just as long as our hearts stay open and we do our work, it is the effort It is the effort we put in to connect with each other in his name and his love. And there's just nothing on the planet more real and more beautiful right now for me.
Oh, wow.
So,
You're
Jay
breaking
Baba.
our hearts, Patty.
Well, you're breaking mine open. This is what I'm asking.
Oh
You're
my
making us
God.
all cry.
Yay, Patty.
Yeah.
So really, I love you all so much. And it's crazy because, I feel closer. And I agree with Paula. We'll go there and we'll see people and go, you'll probably just be startled that somebody's hugging you and wanting to be with you, So it's beautiful,
Yeah.
all of you. You're just absolutely fine. And I love the different lenses of which we see through, because
Yeah.
it's all the same soul heart, So
Yeah.
really, Jai Baba.
Thank
Jai
you,
Baba.
Patty. Wow.
We love to you
Beautiful.
all, really.
Let's see what Jeff Aspel up there. What are your thoughts?
What everybody has just shared, I could never have imagined a year ago would really be the same feelings as I have. And it's been said so beautifully by everybody, each soul. I've loved this group. I think just like everybody here has loved this group. Really, really speaking like, I'm sitting here and I'm looking at all of us and I'm saying, I feel like we're all like 9-year-olds in the playground where we don't have any defenses and we don't have any agendas. And we're just saying, hey, can I borrow your pail? Can I borrow your baseball? Can I borrow your yo-yo? Can I borrow your baseball? And, oh, can I have your glove? And sure, it's such a, that word carefree, I think we feel very carefree here. I think we feel very carefree in Baba's love and protection and embrace and Nazar. I could have never imagined to be here with you all. And we've all been to many, many, many Baba groups in different places. This is the most unique, most extraordinary, resourceful, creative group of individuals with very, very, there's no two people in this group that are even closely alike. And yet we're all very alike. And yet we're all so alike. And yet we're all so not alike. Holy cow. And I have enjoyed Angela, and I've enjoyed Jeff as our captains and our guides and our beautiful peers. I've enjoyed Stuart's meditations and your participation, but I want to name every one of you because I really have loved your participation.
Yeah.
Your participation is so filled so much with your love for Baba, and your insights helped me a great deal.
Yeah. Oh, we've got Diane. Let's see. Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you all, and thank you, Jeff.
I might feel a little bit better if we didn't we didn't record these things.
Well, Angela can edit all this.
Huh?
Angela can edit it.
Was that no? I mean, just like if we go through the whole thing again. I mean, we've gone through it twice. We've got like recordings. We'll have recordings for 2 years, 2 things. I think. I mean, I would feel. I don't know. Like I say, I would feel different if it wasn't recorded.
I agree with you, Jeff.
Well,
I think it would be a little more free.
Yeah, and it doesn't. And anybody that wants to kind of hear all of our discussion, they've got 2 years, not 2 years, two run throughs the book. Yeah.
I think it would be really good if we kept this as how I feel. It's a heart space.
Yeah.
It's definitely a place where we've all shared from inside. I think it would be great. We talk about our spirit group as being borderline therapeutic as well as spiritual. And I think what we're all trying to say is we don't want to lose that piece, and we don't need to lose that piece. The time is available, it's slotted, and we don't have to decide what we're going to do with it now. We can all, I think that the fact that you talk about not recording it is probably a good thing. So it's a place where we come. We've made these relationships with each other, and we've worked at it now for quite a while, and we've seen big pieces of each other. And so I think that if we can just keep it as that for right this minute, and then if we decide to read something, we can. If people have things they need to talk about, like maybe we can't just plan it like that. Maybe it has to be open for us to keep processing with it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, like I say, we can sit on this. Oh, I guess Mayor Prasad I was just going to ask him, but I guess he went offline. Let's see what Shraddha, are you?
Hi, Jeff, I'm here.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? We're kind of, like I say, we're coming, we maybe have 3 more sessions or something like that before, and we were just kind of wondering what to do. This is the second time through, but do you have any thoughts?
I was just typing in saying I'm just so very thrilled and delighted that we could, as Baba said, the Sahwas is the most important of, to remember him. And I was just happy to connect, through all this pandemic and everything. It has been like a Baba family, a very close Baba family. I did not know anyone other than you, and I guess Angela too. I would love that, the group continues through whichever mechanism. I've loved listening in, even if I haven't participated most in many meetings, but I think I found them extremely valuable, sharing, how to inculcate Baba in everyday life. And it's been extremely useful. I think I would love to, regardless of whichever book we decide to continue, or as long as we stay connected, I think that's extremely helpful. I understand, Jeff. I was worried about you that you probably were burnt out a long time ago, and I thought.
Well, I haven't had a vacation in 2 years.
I know.
Yeah. And my life is like pretty chock-a-block, you might say. So, but I'm going to take a couple of weeks off in 1st of July, and I may come back a new man. Who knows?
And I think you should take a break too, Jeff. I think you definitely need a break.
Yes.
We've all been connected through one way or the other. I've always appreciated the late night chats too, this way or the other. As long as something in the name of Baba continues, I'm absolutely just thrilled and delighted to have. I mean, Angela has done a wonderful job putting these recordings in as we are not available most of the times. When we miss, we get to watch the recordings too. So, whichever mechanism, I'm fine. As long as we stay connected.
Great. Thanks, Shraddha. Yeah. No, I'm glad to hear all this, because it's kind of going to say floating around in me. I think all of us will kind of we may come up with something, because like I say, this family aspect here is often so missing in your own neighborhood. I mean, it used to be we grew up in neighborhoods and you knew everybody in the neighborhood and you were close, but modern life has kind of put us in all different locations far away from those who are close and near and dear. And so here we are, we can be, we can have this family. Yeah.
Jeff, you please take the time that you need to restore and reinvigorate. And part and parcel of that, I think, and this is just a suggestion, and I'll be really directive with this, I think we need two individuals that can also kind of facilitate the group. And
Oh,
I would just humbly ask those two people, this is just my opinion, to be Douglas and Patty, so that we can have the kind of buoyancy that you and Angela have had. I think by having a couple of people that we all hold in very high regard, and I'm just giving those two, there are others I would think I would trust as much, but those two individuals I think would be excellent if they feel comfortable.
Yeah. No,
Facilitate.
I mean, yeah, like there's so many of you. I mean, I think everybody could be in charge, because we're all kind of, have this basic sense of what can happen here. It's yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
I have this song that's in mind that would fit, I think, with this conversation that we're in the midst of.
Yeah.
And I'd like to share it. It's a pretty short song.
Okay.
So see what you think, if it fits in. Before you leave these portals to meet with less fortunate mortals, there's just one final topic I would give to you. We all have learned reliance on the sacred teachings of science. So I hope through life you never will decline, in spite of Philistine defiance, to do what all good scientists do. Experiment. Make it your motto day and night. Experiment, and it will lead you to the light. The apple on the top of the tree is never too high to achieve. So take an example from Eve. Experiment. Be curious, though interfering friends may frown. Get furious at each attempt to hold you down. If this advice you'll always employ, the future can offer you infinite joy and merriment. Experiment and you'll see. J-Bond. That's Cole Porter's.
Good, excellent.
I think some experimentation.
I think we should experiment. Yeah. Oh, Elizabeth, and I guess we're getting kind of toward the.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I really think I agree that you need to take your time to restore and revitalize your spirit, the way Baba encouraged Norina to do the same thing. And I also want to say, really, I think the reason the group is, a part of the reason anyway, the group is the way it is because of your guidance and leadership and your own love. And I just think it emanates from you and spreads to each person in the group. And that's irreplaceable. I'm not trying to say you should stay, but I'm just saying that love and coming, that does emanate from you. You have been a conduit for each one of us. I think we all pick up on that. So, and we're all very, very grateful.
Well, like I say, it's funny because this is not normally the thing that I'm inclined to do, but it kind of happened, when that first Zoom session, boy, I had only been on Skype once, so it's been a learning curve, Well, okay. So so go home, or you're already at home, but think about it and see. I mean, I do feel that this book does give a shape and form to investigating and tuning into a deeper part of ourself. And it's really based on Baba. I mean, what is it? Open Secrets in Meher Baba's Discourses. So it's all, it's quoting Baba all along. So it's a journey that comes right out of the discourses. Yeah. Well, Katie Lawton. Oh, so I do think the center may be open in September. So just for overnight. So we're getting closer. All right. Well, let's have one more last moment of silence. And Jai Baba. Thank you, everybody. Just remember Marijuana Mystery if you want to hear a great speaker. I mean, very informal, natural, enjoyable Tuesday night on the late night chat. And if you want to investigate controlling anger with anecdotes and everything, that's tonight.
Wrap our souls with Meher Baba.
Yeah. Anybody have one last quote of Baba's words? Oh, here, I'll give you one. This is one I mentioned before. I kept it in my wallet until it eventually shredded back in the 70s. But it had a truth that I was so, to hear it from Baba meant the world to me because I felt it was true. Baba said, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. We already love each other, and it's just removing the things that obscure that truth. It's just a matter, if we hung out with each other long enough, any one person, we would eventually love each other. The clouds would eventually apart and the sun is there. So.
Sure know we love each other. What a lovely way to leave today.
Our feet are stained.
Hey, Baba. Good night, everyone.
Hey, Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai
Jai Baba.
Well,
Bye.
bye.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Good night, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Jai Baba, everyone. Much love.
Jai
Thank you
Baba.
so much, Baba.
Good night, everyone.
The pillow fight was not hurt. Ow.
Oh, not hurt though. You okay?